Oh, what up? How you guys doing out there today? This is your boy Roto Beast. I'm here to present you my NBA morning shoot around for Monday, October 28th. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below. This way you can watch all my NBA, NFL, and MLB videos. If you haven't came and checked out our website here at dfscheatsheet.com, hey, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily Fanduel and Draftkings cash lineups. Hey, we're truly a one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. So make sure to check out the site here at dfscheatsheet.com. So, hey man, what can I say? Another great week of NFL, 8-0 with our NFL cash lineups. Yes, 8-0. Had a really good start last week with the NBA lineups as well. Man, hey, right now's the time to join the money team. If you haven't already, check it out, dfscheatsheet.com. You can use promo code NFL 2019. Get our season package. Get our yearly package half off, $175. You get a whole year with us. You get the rest of NFL. You get NBA. You'll get MLB when it comes back up. Man, it's a really good deal. So take advantage of that. And yeah, man, we got a solid slate today. We got 11 games on the slate. It's going to be a pretty fun basketball slate. We got to find some value. That's one thing that's kind of standing out to me early in the day. And we got to figure out who we want to pay up for. But I'm ready to jump in this slate. So let's get it, man. We'll start with Chicago going into New York to face the Knicks. These are two teams that are kind of in rebuilding phases right now. Point guard's position here with the Knicks, it's tough. You got Alfred Payton, who's been getting that start and nod. You got Dennis Smith, who's ruled out. So I think that this is a spot where Alfred Payton will get some extended run with his backup being out right now. So I think that he's a guy you can look at 5,900 in an up-tempo game going against New York. On the flip side of things for Chicago, you got White, you got Dunn, you got Sadaransky, all these guys, you even got Ryan Archie-Nakano, Shaquille Harrison. They got a lot of guards out there in Chicago. That's one thing that's really sticking out to me. I'm not really too interested in their point guard spot. Zach LaVine, 8,000. I think he's a guy that you can look at. He's going to be low owned in GPPs. So a lot of guys are not going to want to pay 8,000 with some of the other names on this slate. So he's definitely going to be in play. But me on the flip side, I think I'd rather save the money. 1,300 RJ Barrett starting the season off well, man. He's playing a bunch of minutes, so we know he's going to get his at least 35 minutes in 3 straight games. And he's doing a little bit of everything. He's playing some good defense, filling up the stat sheet. I like RJ Barrett in this spot in the up-tempo game against Chicago. Small forward position, Otto Porter, it's looking like he's going to play, but he's going to be kind of on a minutes restriction is kind of what I've seen. Because of a hip injury that he has. I'm not really going to pay 6,000 for him if he's going to be on a minutes limit. On the flip side, I think Marcus Morris, 5,200. I think he's a guy that you can look to play. He's a guy that's going to play, low 30 minutes. 5,200 is a very fair price tag for him. He does a little bit of everything. He's kind of being that mentor role for some of these young guys on the Knicks. I like Marcus Morris. I think he's definitely in play. At power forward spot, you can look at both of the power forwards in this game. Julius Randle, great play. He's playing very, very well to start the season. I don't really want to pay 8,800 for him. For me, strictly GPP because of that price tag. Yes, he has the upside, as he showed in the first game against San Antonio. But one thing I do want to mention in that game, you had Mitchell Robinson was out. So Mitchell Robinson, he is a game-time decision right now. If Mitchell Robinson is out, I think that gives a boost to Julius Randle. Also gives a boost to a guy like Thaddeus Young. Will pick up some extra minutes. So we got to kind of wait on that injury news. Marketing, on the other hand, 8,000. This young guy, back-to-back games hasn't really shot the ball well. But he does do a little bit of everything, which kind of saves you, when it comes to the floor. He's going to play the minutes, and he's not a guy that's going to, shoot poorly. He's a really, really good shooter. I think this is a spot where he could definitely bounce back and have a solid game. Pretty good GPP play there. At the center spot, Wendell Carter, 6,300. Mitchell Robinson, as I talked about with him, we got to see what happens with his ankle. He's considered probable, so I expect him to play. These two guys going against each other, I'm not really too interested. Porter's coming off the bench. He's not really getting a bunch of minutes, so I'm just ready to move on next game. Next game we're going to talk about, we got Indiana going into Detroit. You got Malcolm Brogdon playing very well to start the season for Indiana. Reggie Jackson's questionable with a back injury. It's something that we got to wait on. I like Brogdon. I will throw that out there. Outside of that, I'll move on to shooting guard spot. I think Derrick Rose is the guy who ends up getting the biggest bump if Reggie Jackson's out. Some of these other guys may get the start nod. Last game, I think it was Frazier. Frazier started in place of him, but Frazier, he didn't get a bunch of run. It was really Derrick Rose. I think Derrick Rose is the guy that you look at. 6,500, the price tag still fair. They need this guy to score, especially with Blake Griffin out right now. Averaging 25 points a game. Derrick Rose, he's a guy that I really like here. Jeremy Lamb is out. So we got to see who's going to be in that starting role for him. I think there possibly could be some value opened up there. Small forward spot. TJ Warren has kind of a bad start to the season. He's playing the minutes, though. That's what we got to like. And he's a much better player than this. 12 and 13 fantasy points. Like I said, 33, 36 at 5,100. I think you can look at TJ Warren as a GPP play. Markieff Morris, he's getting some run as well. You can possibly look at him. Kennard's a guy that's really starting to see the season off hot. He's going to be a low-owned guy. He's playing right around 30 minutes a game. It doesn't give you crazy upside, but I think that he does give you a little bit of upside, especially while Blake Griffin continues to be out. Sabonis, he's a guy I've played in the past. I've played him over and over. And he would always come off the bench. Now he's in the starting role and he's playing a ton of minutes. I don't really like the 7.9 price tag, but the guy definitely has some upside, and I think this is a solid spot for him. You can look at him in GPPs. And then you got Andre Drummond, you got Miles Turner kind of going against each other. This is a spot where Andre Drummond had a monster game the first game of the season, 10.3. Miles Turner on the flip side, he had a really good game as well, 47 fantasy points. You can't expect both these guys to go off against each other again. They're actually both pretty good defenders, so I was a little surprised they both had really good games. But I definitely think that you can look at the upside and play both these guys in GPPs. Moving on, we got Philadelphia going against Atlanta. You got Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons definitely in play, 9.7. I like Ben Simmons a little bit more if Embiid is out as well. He's going to give you a solid floor. The fact he has triple-double upside any single night. And then you got Trae Young, man. Trae Young has just been absolutely killing it. Back-to-back games of 39 and 38 actual real-life points, close to a triple-double both nights. I mean, this guy, he's a young Steph Curry. I mean, that's what really reminded me of Trae Young. I like him. I definitely think he's a good play. The difference between Trae Young and Ben Simmons is Trae Young has a lot less weapons around him compared to Ben Simmons. So Trae Young is going to continue to have the ball in his hands over and over. But like I said, both of these guys definitely in play. GPP plays, though, in my opinion. Shooting guard spot, you got Josh Richardson, 5,800. I think it's a very fair price tag for him. He's a guy, he starts as shooting guard, plays that backup point guard role as well. Hasn't really had no monster games, but he's showing you a solid floor. Scored double digits both games. He's going to get you some rebounds, couple of assists. Really good defensive player. Josh Richardson definitely in play. Huerter is on a minutes limit right now, so I'm not really going to go that route. Small forward spot, I like Tobias Harris a lot if Embiid is out. I think he's in play either way, but if Embiid is out, Tobias Harris is a guy that I feel it steps up the most, and they kind of run the offense through him with no Embiid. So I like him, 7,800, and like I say, he does get an added boost if Embiid ends up being out. A couple of cheaper guys you could possibly look at. You could throw a guy like DeAndre Benbury in there in GPP. I think he's a guy we've seen him. In the past, whenever he got run, he would produce. He does a little bit of everything. He hasn't done nothing special, but he's hit 5 times value for you. And I think that he's a guy you can look at in GPPs. Power forward, John Collins, same old stuff year after year. Great player, young guy. I like him. 8,000. I think that he's a really good play. He gives you a solid floor. He's so active. Al Horford, if Embiid is out, I think you go right back to the well here. Al Horford had a really, really good game last game when Embiid was out. Got your 44 fantasy points. You'll definitely take that at a 6,900 price tag. Jabari Parker, it's all about minutes with him, man. If he's going to get minutes, we know he can produce in bunches. It's just, is he going to get the minutes is the biggest question for me. I'm not really interested in him. I'd rather go probably with Benbury and kind of get value there if I'm going to look at one of these Hawks guys. In the center spot, we got to wait and see what happens with Joel Embiid. We got to wait and see what happens with Alex Lynn. Both questionable with the ankle and rib injuries. If these guys are out, you could possibly look at some of these guys as value. Quinn, if he gets a start and nod, then I think that you can look at him. So yeah, man, we got to wait and see what happens with these guys. Moving on, next game we're going to talk about, we got Orlando going into Toronto. Kyle Lowry definitely in play. They need a lot from him this year if they're gonna, kind of have a chance to even, get back to the finals. And yeah, man, Markelle Fultz, he's a guy. Him and Augustine are kind of splitting minutes. I'm not really interested in these guys. And then Carter Williams is also getting some run also. In this game, I like Lowry as the point guard here. Fred VanVleet, he's a guy playing very well to start the season. The price tag's starting to creep up, but the guy's getting a ton of minutes. I definitely think he's in play, 6,600. Evan Fournier as well, 5,900 GPP play, definitely in play. You could also look at a Tyson Ross coming off the bench. We know this guy can definitely get hot. And out of 4,300 price tag, I think he's worthy of a GPP play. Talk about Kyle Lowry. It's Kyle Lowry, it's VanVleet, and it's Siakam. Those are the biggest guys that they need to step up this year for Toronto. I like Siakam. I think that he's a guy that you can look at in an up-tempo game going against Orlando. Jonathan Isaac in that starting spot. I think he's a guy that you can look at in GPP only. Has a little bit of upside. OG Anunoby, he's a guy who's been playing pretty well to start the season. He's getting a bunch of minutes, showing us some defensive stats, knocking down some threes. 5,200 is a pretty good price tag for him. Power forward, you can look at Gordon, you can look at Ibaka. Both of these guys are GPP plays for me because they're so inconsistent. But I think you definitely got to consider them. You can look at Vucevic as well. He hasn't really had that monster game yet. Then he gets a matchup against Marc Gasol, who isn't a guy I really like to attack very much. Gasol is a pretty good defender, even at these little bit older stage in his career. Both of these guys, 5,700 for Gasol is dirt cheap. We know Vucevic doesn't play very good defense. So both of these guys, GPP plays. Moving on, we got Cleveland going into Milwaukee. This game is probably going to be a lopsided game. Bledsoe, 6,400 is coming in dirt cheap. Colin Sexton, 5,500. He's in play. He's showing us some upside. A guy that I think you can look at. GPP as a value play. I think you can look at George Hill, 4,000. We already played him a couple of times this year. He's coming off the bench. He's playing a big role in this offense. He's getting you close to 30 minutes a game off the bench. And then you got to look at the fact this game could possibly blow out. He may get some extra run. So I think Bledsoe isn't play. Sexton's in play. I think you look at George Hill as a value play. Shooting guard spot, 7,700 for Chris Middleton. I think that you can look at him in GPPs. I don't really want to pay that price in a game that I think could possibly be a blowout. Wesley Matthews, 4,300. He's getting his minutes. He's definitely in play. Jordan Clarkson hasn't had a really monster game, but he, at a 4,900 price tag coming off the bench, in that six-man role, you can possibly look at him as a GPP play. Small forward, you got Antetokounmpo, definitely in play, 12.4. Larry Nance at almost 6,000. You could consider him as well. Power forward spot, that was small forward. At the power forward spot, Kevin Love, 8,500. He's the best player on this team. I think that he's definitely in play as a GPP play. Not really interested in Ilyasova too much. Tristan Thompson, 6,500, playing very well to start the season. Brook Lopez, 5,500. I think both of these guys, GPP plays. Moving on, next game we're going to talk about, we got Golden State going into New Orleans to face the Pelicans. Steph Curry hasn't had a good game really to start the season. It's been tough going for him, man. Definitely been tough going. The Warriors aren't looking the best. If they're gonna, turn the season around, it's gonna have to be on Steph Curry's shoulders. Steph Curry, 9,200. I think he's in play. Lonzo Ball coming off a monster game. Last outing, I think that you can also look at him as well. He's playing, the minutes. That's what we gotta like. I think that Lonzo Ball does get a bump if Jrue Holiday is out. That's something that we gotta wait on. Jrue Holiday's game time decision with the questionable with the knee. If he does play, I think that he'll be in play. If he doesn't play, I think that gives guys like Lonzo Ball, guys like Brandon Ingram, these guys get extra bumps. So we got to wait on that news. D'Angelo Russell just got thrown out of yesterday's game. He's definitely a guy that has to step it up for the Warriors as well. 7,600. I think that you can look at him at GPPs. Josh Hart's the guy that stepped in the starting role and had a really good game with Drew Holiday being out last game. If Josh Hart's going to be in that starting lineup again, I think that you can look at him in the up-tempo game going against the Warriors. Also, you got JJ Redick. He just hasn't got hot yet, but at a 4,300, I think it's a dirt cheap price tag. And we know JJ Redick has some upside. So I like both of those guys. Brandon Ingram, 8,500. The guy, this is the guy I didn't want the Lakers to trade when they wanted Anthony Davis. He was the guy I really wanted to keep. Killing it to start the season. 27, he's averaging 27 actual points. This guy's a scorer. He's going to be really, really good. He's going to be dominant for the next couple years, several years in a row. And I think that he's a guy at play. Glenn Robinson as a GPP play, if he's going to get that start nod, you could possibly look at him. Power forward, 7,000 for Draymond. They need more from Draymond, man. He hasn't been cutting it. It is what it is. There's no way to really sugarcoat it. 7,000 up-tempo game. I think Draymond's in a pretty good spot here. Marquise Chris at 3,800. He started yesterday. He had a pretty decent game. If he's going to start again, I think he's a guy that you can look at as a value play. Center spot, you can look at Derek Favors. I think that this is spot actually he can have a pretty good game with all the big men kind of being hurt right now for the Warriors. Problem with Derek Favors for me is he's just not getting the regular minutes that I'm looking for. Just strictly GPP play there. Moving on, next game, we got OKC going against Houston. Harden going against his old team. Chris Paul going against his old team. This should be a pretty fun game. 10.9 for Russell Westbrook. I think that he's going to want to have a really monster game, and I like him in this spot. Chris Paul on the other side, I look for him to have a fairly good game. Kind of, a little bit bitter about how, Houston did and sent him to OKC, a team that's probably not even going to be contending for the playoffs this year. Both of those guys are in play. I expect them to go back and forth. James Harden, he's the guy that we played on Saturday night, and he killed us. It is what it is. He shot like 5 for 30 or something like that. Just a horrible shooting night. The price tag was pretty high. It actually dropped a little bit compared to Saturday. He's in play. I definitely like him. I just don't know if he's going to kind of take a backseat to Russ and be like, hey, man, it's your old team, bro. I feel you. Get yours. That's the only thing scaring me. But definitely in play here, James Harden is. Gilgeous-Alexander, he's a guy that's really been stepping it up. 7.9. They need a lot from this guy, and he's been scoring the ball. He's been playing pretty well. Obviously, I don't want to pay this price tag for him, but he's a guy I think that you could consider in GPP. Schroeder, 4,600. This is a guy that is going to play around 25 minutes a game. Usually he gets you a pretty solid floor. I think that Schroeder at 4,600 is a guy that you can look at as a value play. Moving on to the small forward position, Danilo Gallinari, 7,100, definitely in play. You can look at Eric Gordon at 4,200. He's in play as a GPP play. He's going to play around 28 to low 30 minutes. Power forward spot, PJ Tucker, 5,000. I'll go back to that. Well, once again, I think that he's a guy that you can look at. Center, Clint Capella, Steven Adams, two pretty good defenders, two pretty good centers. Going against each other, I think this is a little bit of a tough matchup for both of them, and I don't really have too much crazy interest, in these spots. Steven Adams, he's a guy that he's going to play, high 20s, low 30s. Same thing with Capella. I'm not really interested in those two centers on this particular slate. Moving on, Portland going into San Antonio to face the Spurs. You got Damian Lillard. You got DeJounte Murray's coming back off injury, starting off the season very, very well. Both of those guys definitely in play. I'm not really interested in White, Forbes. I understand it if you throw them in a couple of GPPs, pretty cheap. You got DeMar DeRozan, CJ McCollum, both of these guys in play. 6,200 for CJ McCollum is a really good price tag. I understand that it hasn't necessarily been the best start to the season, but we're saying that, and he's still averaging about 22 points a game. Almost 4 rebounds, 3 assists for 32 fantasy points. I'll take 32 fantasy points at a $6,200 price tag. Next, we got small forward Rudy Gay. I think Rudy Gay's in play. Kent Bazemore's getting some run. Hood's getting some run. All these guys are GPP plays, though, just because the run hasn't been consistent. You could even throw, DeMar Carroll in there at 4,000 as a guy that you could possibly look at as a cheap guy. But one thing I will say is, Carroll, he hasn't got regular run yet, and I don't know if he's coming off an injury, whatnot. They don't have him listed as hurt. I think that he's a guy that possibly is going to find his way into the rotation. Today, I'm not really going to be looking at him. I'm going to kind of stick with these top three guys as GPP plays. Power forward, LaMarcus Aldridge, same old thing, going against his old team. I think he's a guy that's definitely in play at 8,200. Zach Collins is game time decision with a shoulder injury. If he was going to be out, I think that's going to open up value at that power forward position for the Trailblazers. We got to wait and see who they would start in that spot. They probably, in my opinion, I think they would go with Sky Labissiere if he's going to start at a bare minimum of 3,500 in a pretty good matchup. I think that he would be a guy that you just kind of lock in your lineup and move on. So we got to wait on that news and hear if he's a guy that'll start if Zach Collins is out. Whiteside having a really good start to the season. He's a guy that, GPP only, but I think that he's definitely in play. The only thing about Whiteside that I don't like is he only plays 26 to 28 minutes a game. He's not a guy that's really going to play 30 minutes, and that's what kind of worries me, especially at an 8,300 price tag. But he's a guy that could really, really produce even in limited minutes. So GPP only for me. Jacob Podol. Poito, I think that the minutes just aren't there. Yes, he definitely produces decently when he plays, but he's not getting the regular run, and that's what's kind of really worrying me about him. He's a starter, but he doesn't get starter minutes. Moving on, next game we're going to talk about, we got Utah going into Phoenix. I'm going to tell you guys something, man. This Phoenix team, they just beat the Clippers. I mean, they're a good young team that plays hard. That's one thing I will say about Phoenix. I think they're a team that plays hard. They have some decent guys, on that team. Mike Conley, 7,500. The guy just hasn't got it going this year, man. He's shooting horrible from the field. I watched him the other day. I checked out the game. I was at Staples Center, and the guy just can't shoot the ball right now. He's going to pick it up eventually. He's a veteran. I expect him to kind of get out this slump. 7,500, though, in an up-tempo game against Phoenix. I think it's a GPP play. Ricky Rubio on the flip side, game time decision with his knee. He is listed as probable. If he's going to play, then I think that you can look at him. I mean, I think he's definitely in play going against his old team, kind of a little bit bittersweet, and he'll come out and ball. If he's out, two guys you could possibly look at. You can look at Javon Carter. He started last game, had a decent game, and you can also look at Tyler Johnson. Both of these guys, sub 4,000. I think will be good value plays if Rubio's out, but it does look like Rubio is going to play. Devin Booker, 9,100. Mitchell, 8,400. Both guys in play. They're going to go at each other back and forth. GPP plays just because of the price tags on them. I don't know if they're the guys I really want to pay up for on this slate. Small forward, Kelly Oubre, 6,900. He killed me the other day. He got in foul trouble so fast, and he still ended up hitting value. That was a crazy thing. And he only played like 20 minutes? Let me see. 21 minutes. If he would have, and he still got your 38 fantasy points. Imagine this guy's played 31 minutes. He would have got you a monster game going against Kawhi Leonard. I think he's a guy that you can look at once again today at 6,900. Right now, it's looking like he's our second best player, man. That's what I see the other day. You got Booker. You got Oubre, and then you got the couple other guys, like Rubio. You got, Ayton when he comes back. But right now, he's looking very good. Talking about Oubre. Bogdanovic at 5,600. He's a guy that you can look at GPP play. Same thing, Joe Ingles, GPP play. These guys kind of take away from each other, so it's kind of hard to play them. At the power forward spot, Kaminsky's a guy that's been playing very well since Ayton got suspended. Back-to-back games with 32 and 29 minutes. I'm looking at the minutes. The production for a big guy, he's going to get you, close to a double-double if he's going to get you around 30 minutes. He can knock down some threes as well, and he's been passing pretty good. That's what I really, really seen from the Clippers game. So Kaminsky's a guy that we could possibly look at once again today. Dario Saric coming off his best game as a Sun as well. I think that he's a guy, I don't know, I'd probably rather go, Kaminsky or Saric. It's tough. That's a tough one for me because Saric gets the start nod and he plays the minutes. So I may have to favor him that way, but Kaminsky will be the guy that definitely probably be lower owned. Center spot, you got Gobert, you got Baines. I think that, these guys battling against each other. This is a spot Gobert could definitely have a really good game, but 9,000 against Baines, who's a big body, it scares me a little bit. And the Baines on the flip side, he's not dirt cheap anymore. So I don't. He's not. Oh man, I want to get Baines in there because he's 3,500. The price tag has came up to 4,800. But I mean, he's a guy you could possibly look at as a value player. If he's going to play 28 to 30 minutes. With the Clippers here, he got a little bit of foul trouble, so it kind of hindered his minutes. Same thing with Oubre. But I think he's a guy that they'll get his minutes, and I think he's a guy that you could possibly look at. Moving on, you got Denver going into Sacramento to face a Kings team that's just underperforming right now. There's nothing really else to say about it. I mean, I'm going to start with De'Aaron Fox not playing good. Price tag is down to 7,700. On the flip side, Jamal Murray, having a decent start to the season. I think both of these guys are in play as GPP plays. Shooting guard spot, you got Buddy Hield, 6,700. You got Gary Harris, 4,900. You got Bogdan Bogdanovic at 4,500. All three of these guys definitely in play as GPP plays. I don't really like these sack guys going against Denver because Denver's a really good team. So I don't really necessarily like the matchup. But I understand if you do want to play some of these guys, they're going to have a really good bounce back game. Another guy I really like, man, Will Barton, 5,300. I just think this is a dirt cheap price tag for Will Barton. I understand that last game, he only played 20 minutes against the Suns. I understand that. But I'm kind of just looking at it overall. I've played him the past couple of years, and it's usually more he's going to play close to 30 minutes. He's going to get you this kind of stat line. So I'm interested to see what they say about Will Barton. The only problem is they have so many guys out there in Denver that are wing players, and so that's why sometimes, Barton or even Jamal Murray sometimes will get his minutes cut if he's not playing well because they got so many guys. Harrison Barnes, 4,800. These guys is going to play you around 30 minutes. Outside the Utah game where they just got the butts kicked. He played 33 minutes. 4,800, I think, is a decent price tag for Harrison Barnes. He's a guy that you could possibly look at as well. Power forward spot, you got Bagley out for a couple weeks. So the guy that's been in play has been Bijalika. 4,100. I think that you could continue to use him as a value player. The only thing is he's a guy, even when he gets minutes, man, he doesn't necessarily, jump off the board with his stats. 17.8, 19.9, and 11 fantasy points. So it's not like last year on Fanduel where your lowest score gets dropped. So it's tough. But if he's going to start, I think that he does have some upside. Paul Millsap, 6,200. The minutes have been up. It's one game he had 31 minutes against Portland. The other one he only had 21 against Phoenix. Averaging it out, we'll say he's averaging 26 points, 26 fantasy points at a 6,200 price tag. We need about 31. I think this is a game that Denver could get on Sack, especially if Sack's going to continue to play, the way they've been playing, which hasn't been very good. Center spot, Joker, definitely in play, 10.7. Man, is he the guy we want to pay up for? That's the question that I'm asking myself. But he has the upside coming off a triple-double in 40 minutes against Phoenix. So I don't know if he's the guy I want to pay up for. But if you do pay up for him, I wouldn't blame you at all. I definitely understand why. Moving on, final game of the night, you got the Charlotte Hornets going into LA to face the Clippers. Clippers coming off a loss, like I mentioned, against the Suns. I think there's some guys that you can look at in this game. I think this game could be fun. But at the same time, this game could get out of hand quickly. Terry Rozier, 6,200, coming off his best game as a Hornet, definitely in play. It's a cheap price tag for him. Patrick Beverley fills up the stat sheet, does a little bit of everything. I think he's a guy. You can look at both of these guys, Rozier, Beverley. You can even look at Devontae Graham as a GPP play. Having a really good start to the season. Shooting guard spot, 7,000. Lou Williams coming off the bench. I mean, you got to like him. He's going to score around 20 a game. I mean, right now he's averaging 22 points a game. He scored, like I said, I like him. I think Lou Will's in a good spot. Once again, he's going to play 30 minutes, and if it's competitive, he'll play a little bit more. Lou Will definitely in play. Bacon you can look at as a GPP play. Kawhi Leonard, I mean, it's easily anytime Kawhi Leonard's on the slate, you got to consider him. 9.9, I think he's in a good spot right here. Miles Bridges, he's a guy that you could possibly look at as well, 5,200. For the Hornets, power forward spot. PJ Washington is a guy that's come out a couple games in a row and just been balling. I mean, outside of the last game, He had a double. He had 27 points first game in Chicago, double against Minnesota. 8-6. It wasn't the best against the Lakers, but the fact that he played 35 minutes, the guy's getting a bunch of minutes. The price tag is up though, so it's strictly a GPP play, but you could definitely consider him. And then at the center spot, we'll finish it off. You got Harrell, you got Cody Zeller. Cody Zeller, solid start to the season. He's only played 2 games. Both games though, they were good, man. I mean, coming off a really monster game against the Lakers, 6,300. Who do I rather pay for, Harrell or Zeller? For me, I'd probably rather go Harrell. But both of these guys are in play. You still get the same 900 going with Zeller. So that's really where I'm at for my NBA morning shoot around for Monday, October 28th. If you want a more in-depth analysis on today's slate, make sure to check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. Got a bunch of other content up for NBA right now. So, yeah, man, check it out. And hey, good luck on our guys' contest tonight, all right? Peace out.